And
All right.
we're live.
Well,
Welcome
let's do
back,
this.
ladies and gentlemen, to Really Good and Kind for today's Dresden talk. So, to a competently written novel to start with.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna cheers. Raph, you do your thing.
Cheers
There
to
we
that.
go.
Yeah. All right. Let's
So
brave some peril.
that book was competently written.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
As in comparison to Full Moon,
Yeah.
it's like 3 times the book that Full Moon is. It's quite a good novel.
Yeah.
We get an extensive amount of world building in this novel. Some of the stuff that was just hinted at in Stormfront actually becomes mainstream focus of this, and we're getting hints as to how big the world really is, which is one of my favorite things about this book.
That's true.
So, start off. What was your favorite moment that happened in the book? We'll start there, and then we'll get into some criticisms.
John, you want to start or should I start?
It's a pretty small moment, my favorite one. It's where Dresden ends up at Michael's house in the middle of the night,
Yeah.
beaten and bloody as usual. And Michael's like, all right, well, let's go take care of this. Let's go find my wife. And Dresden's like, well, who's going to watch your kids? And Michael looks at him, rolls his eyes, yanks the door open, and the priest is standing there. Oh, my car just broke down. Like, just divine coincidence. I mean, that is hilarious. I laughed for probably 10 minutes straight. I thought it was fantastic.
I had a bunch of moments where I actually laughed really loud. Rereading it. I think my perfect one is when like Dresden is being Dresden again, and Michael is just like, you can't just yada yada God, and I'm like, well, I don't know.
The moment I knew I was going to love this book the first time I read it was when they just were finished with their fight with Agatha Hagglethorne, and then the fairy godmother appears.
Yeah.
And he says, holy shit, hellhounds. And Michael goes, language. And he goes, oh, you're right. Holy shit, heckhounds.
Yeah, that's true.
I was like, that was just so good. It sounds like something I would do to annoy my mother. It's fantastic. I love it.
That's true. I feel like he's certainly worked on like the dialogue thing, and he's worked on a lot. You have like all these like quotes that like come up again and again, like these lines that he has like at the beginning when he's talking to Susan on the phone. He's like, aren't you ever giving up? And she's like, never. And later on she's like, aren't you ever giving up, Dresden? And he's like, never. And we're like, yeah. He kind of knows what he's going for with this one. He's like settled into this, like, yeah, I'm gonna write these like slightly cheap wizard action hero novels, and I'm gonna lean into that. I'm gonna make them as 80s action movie as possible with all the taglines and all the other stuff.
The one-liners when he's getting ready to fight somebody or he just finished fighting somebody they're not always great, but every once in a while I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that one worked. Interesting story is Jim Butcher asked, who do you think could play Dresden in an adaptation? And he said, Will Smith.
That's pretty
cool. I was like, well, because he could do that level of snark all the time. Yeah. And it would be actually believable for him to do it.
So I would say like 1980s level Bruce Willis could do it.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Ooh. Well, Dresden's supposed to be tall, so that's kind of
yeah, but the point is like that's true. But like on the other hand, Bruce Willis is the one 90s 80s action hero that always gets beaten up to like the skin of his teeth and walks around like bleeding all the time. So that's sort of the point where it's like, yeah, it's basically Bruce Willis wizard.
Yeah. So one thing I thought was really interesting is the archetype of Michael. He's
Yeah.
basic in D&D terms. He's a paladin.
Yeah.
He lives his values and beliefs, and that gives him power. And he's got a special blessed sword and everything else. We'll get into that here in just a minute. That sword, but Michael is actually a good guy.
Yeah.
Like, so in today's fantasy market, people are always trying to do a trope to deconstruct it with a twist, and that has become the cliche. So if you had a paladin, he would probably be working for the wrong side and be a bit of a zealot. But when we get to this book, he's actually now writing anti to that deconstruction, and so it ends up becoming a subversion of what the common thing is when he's playing it 100% straight, which I was like, there's no way that should work, but it does, because he's actually seems to be a good guy.
I think it does like two things at the same time. It definitely does what you said, like at this point we've like become so accustomed to like tropes version. So actually seeing a trope played straight works incredibly well. The other thing is that since this is like, urban fantasy, so it's like our world and stuff like that, and we have become so cynical when it comes to actual like believing Christians, because we've met the Westboro Baptist Church and stuff like that. So having
or those damn Germans,
well, those as well, but having a straight up good Christian who actually believes the stuff without any bigotry in there, even outside of the trope of the paladin, works incredibly well, because it's not a Christian propaganda novel. It's still a normal like fantasy novel.
It's not.
But you have that one person who actually does believe and actually lives up to his beliefs, and that just like works. Even without the fantasy angle, it works in that way, I feel. Also, he is Catholic, right?
Yes.
Because he never mentions that, but I'm like, well, he's praying to saints. He has to be Catholic.
Yeah.
I love the battle cries. Love quo disolium. And they're all like old prayers, but when they're put into like a battle context, they're a little scary. Cleanse what is unclean, oh God, with my giant sword. Like it's pretty terrifying. What do you think of the concept of there being swords made out of the nails from the crucifixion that's worked into the metal?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I just love that fact. Like at the beginning, I think it's Susan, when he's like, he talks about the name of the sword. She's like, oh God, he named his sword. I'm like,
well, pay attention to the name, because that's important. Amarachius. That's an important thing to keep in mind for later on down the line.
I hope so. I was like, oh, it's named like that desert planet from Dune, with like an extra syllable or something.
Well, no, in this book, he does not. James Marsters does not pronounce the sword correctly in the audio version of Grave Peril. He does it later, but he doesn't pronounce it correctly in Grave Peril. So what were our three issues? Because there's usually a three-part problem that Dresden is being thrown into this book. So John, how would you try to explain his situation at, say, right before he's going into the mansion for the second time?
The second time into the mansion? Okay, so when they go through the Never Never and go back into the mansion?
Yeah, so right when they're doing that part of the plan, how would you summarize the preceding events?
Dresden gets beat up. No surprise. Yeah. So
I wouldn't call that a problem at this point. It's more like a feature.
Yeah, that's true. So there's something called, they call it the nightmare, and at first they think it's some kind of ghost, and it's seems to defy all sorts of normal ghost rules. It tears up holy ground. It crosses thresholds. So there's your mystery part. Like, what is this thing? And then, I mean, one of the other things is Lydia is apparently connected to the nightmare somehow. And of course, Dresden, being a dummy, gives away his most powerful anti-ghost charm to her to protect her. I mean, he's a chivalrous dummy, but
Yeah,
He's a fucking
he's
nerd.
horrible
then-
but stupid.
Yeah.
yeah. And then so they end up, after a whole bunch of events, determining that the vampires are also involved in this somehow. They end up going to the Vampires Masquerade Ball, which is another one of my favorite moments. Dresden's costume is just, oh man, like it is just balls
exactly
to
what
the
he was
wall
doing.
body, man. Like
A key vampire. It's one of my favorite reveals because they talk about like bits of his costume. It talks like bits about his costume, but you're not entirely sure what it is until he meets Thomas. What would you guys think of Thomas?
He's cool.
yeah,
Kinda.
Thomas is pretty cool.
He's
Yeah,
a white. Yeah, he's a vampire.
He's still
Yeah.
cool for a vampire.
Because it's white court vampires. So would that make the red court the rampires?
Probably.
Black court
funny
is
how
now
the-
blampire.
Yeah.
It's funny how the vampires are split up though, and it's like reflective in sort of their powers. Whereas like the Thomas, because he's from the white court, he's basically a seducer and he feeds off like sexual emotion and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then the red
And
court.
this is one of the only times that sex being or the act of eroticism being a plot point actually works.
Yeah.
And it's when they've taken Lydia back to Harry's apartment after escaping, and she wakes up and she becomes possessed by our big bad of our freaking nightmare. And the way that they actually end up stopping her as she's throwing everybody around is for Thomas to use his ability to basically incapacitate her.
Yeah,
Which is a terrifying ability that he has, if you really think about it. It's like,
Yeah.
That's a yikes for me, dog. Like,
yeah, but he
but
managed
it
to
actually
make
made
it work.
sense. Yeah.
Although I have to say that there's a bunch of inconsistencies, and it might just be the production of the audiobook. And I've not read the physical book, so I'm not quite sure. But there's like several things where I'm like confused, right? At the beginning, they call the girl. I didn't go back and check onto what's it called, Stormfront, because the point is, at the beginning, Bianca, Madame Bianca calls the girl that died Paula, and later on she's called Rachel. That's weird. And then she's like, when she presents the tombstone to him, it's right next to your dear Inez. And I'm like, who's Inez? And I'm like, okay, I guess that's Lydia's real name, because we know Lydia is not her real name. And then he ends the book by saying, yeah, her real name is Barbara. And I'm like, okay, so who the fuck is Inez?
Inez is a Chicago landmark at their Graceland Cemetery. It is
okay. I've never been there.
A national landmark. Inez is a
statue
of a little girl.
Okay. I didn't know that.
It's a serious, like, real Chicago landmark. It's allegedly supposed to be haunted. Sometimes it disappears off its plinth, is what people say. But it's a hallmark of the city. It's something that is actually real.
I've never been to Chicago. I don't look at that. I've only urinated against Paris graveyard.
That's a
You don't want to
That's
know.
God bless the
Look,
French.
they closed the public bathrooms, and I had no choice. It was dire measures.
Hurrah.
It was the wall with like all the war deads, if that helps.
No rap.
Jesus.
Especially because they were killed by Germans. So I understand I was wrong. I do understand, but pressures.
So I do like that he steered away from making Susan just another Lois Lane, because she kind of is Lois Lane by the end of Full Moon. It's pretty much, she's almost a carbon copy. She's a very competent journalist who's involved in his other job, even though she's probably shouldn't be involved in that because it's dangerous.
But he really takes.
Then at the end of this book, he just yeets the whole dynamic around.
Yeah.
What I find interesting is that he's like taking a lot of like time to point out that she is has like Latin American background. It's like, her skin is darker and she's dark haired, and like I'm kind of getting your like type. Jim Butcher. It's certainly dark haired and whatnot, but and not too tall. Did you notice like all the women are not tall? He makes a point of noticing that.
No, that's not true. Charity Carpenter is like 6'2".
Nope, she's not.
Yes, he did. She's tall.
No. He points out
it
that
says she's tall.
No, she's not tall. She has a lot of personality, but she's not tall. He makes a point of that because if she's tall, then
Harry is like 6'9".
Yeah, but she points out that when Charity and Michael walk out of the police station, she goes up to like Michael's chest, and that would make Michael like 7 foot something.
Nah, she's tall.
Nah, she's not.
Well, my favorite explanation for why they can't remember the Red Court flunky who Bianca killed because she got sunshine handkerchiefed, is that Bianca can't remember which one it was because she kills these people all the time. And so she's like, how dare you take Paula from me? How dare you take Rebecca from me? How dare you take Rachel from me? If I hadn't got hurt, I would have had to eat on them, and I got hurt because of you. So therefore, they're all now his fault.
Yeah.
That's my favorite explanation for that.
I was still like,
no other
how the fuck?
for why names changed.
Yeah. I can see that explanation. I was still like, I might have been drunk last night, and I just like pounded through the entire book today while sitting out here having a couple of beers in the sun. But I'm pretty sure there's an inconsistency there. Also, how does Michael's hand get healed so quickly? Like when they have that like fight with Lydia possessed by the nightmare, it is very explicit that like she takes his hand and Dresden hears bones break, and we also hear that then afterwards he hears that like his ribs get broken, and we get like an explanation that his like one rib is broken, one is cracked, and like 5 minutes later he just like runs around waving his sword, and I'm like, I have broken bones before.
It gives him power. His faith gives him power.
Probably, but still, it's like that doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. It's not healing magic. You can't grab your sword with a broken hand. Just saying. I mean, you can run around with a broken rib. I've done it. It's not fun, but it's possible.
Yeah.
You know what Michael would say to that? He would say, with God, all things are possible. He would fucking mean that.
I know. See, that's like a thing that I found super fascinating today in my slightly foggy state of mind, is like you have that thing that like Michael always says that like God wouldn't dump anything on you that you couldn't carry with your like shoulders. And yeah, that's a cool saying. And the thing is, he says that to Dresden, And we're sitting here reading Dresden Files novels, and we know there's going to be another like 14 of those novels at least.
Mhm.
So
There's
we know that
there's
Michael is
17 more.
yeah, no. So we know that Michael is technically right because of
Mhm.
narrative causality.
Mhm.
We just know that, yeah, God might not do that, but it's still like Jim Butcher might. Although I think he kills Dresden later on at some point, doesn't he?
I can't confirm or deny anything of the sort.
Yeah, I get kind of spoiled by my flatmate who was reading them at the time. It's like, no, he's a ghost, and I'm like, he's a ghost in this one.
That scene was cool. Where
That scene is super cool.
Finally takes out Kravos.
Yeah, that
it's
is really
gross when you think about it, but it is also kind of awesome. The line, "I ate him all up," is so like chillingly delivered in the audiobook that even though this is ridiculous, this is absolutely a ridiculous thing to be happening. I'm like, ooh.
Although I do love that idea of like, yeah, I'll die, so that's gonna create my ghost, and then you're gonna revive me, so we're gonna have me and my ghost. Now it's two of us, so we can gang up on this dude. It's like, that is 150% tabletop role-playing game logic.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's exactly what people I know would come up with on the spot at the table, and like, yeah, that's gonna work. And then for fuck's sake, they actually roll that natural 20, so it actually works. And you're like sitting there and you're hiding, you're face palming as the GM, and like, that should not work. And yeah, that's exactly
that would happen to me.
Yeah.
So we get to see some more cool magic stuff that it was kind of hinted at before, but we didn't really get it for sure. The Apartorum spell, the tearing your way into the Never Never, and walking around in there and then tearing your way back out again. So it's possible for demons and spirits and things to cross over, but now you know for sure that someone of wizard ability can just go there whenever. So that is a very interesting sort of the way that whole system works is really fascinating. I really like it. So what else did y'all notice? Any clever, any out of the uses of magic you found in there that you thought were clever?
With the magic, I don't know. What I found really clever was actually the beginning of the book, where he actually
with the flashback.
With a flashback, because that's like something he hasn't done before. And I was like, okay, Jim Butcher has learned a new literary tool. I am glad for him. He actually makes like use of it in a good way. That's cool.
I enjoyed that. My favorite use of clever magic is the sleep spell for Murphy.
Oh yeah, that one is actually really smart.
I really liked that, especially because he usually has a persecution complex already. Harry does, and so when someone actually literally steals his face to hurt other people, it's actually almost justified for him to be as upset as he is.
Yeah.
I mean, shock and whatever is a thing, but generally all the self-recriminations come after, not during, which is interesting, I think. But what do you think, John?
As far as cleverness goes, I think one of the cleverer moments in the book, at least for Dresden being clever, which is unusual, was when he tricks his fairy godmother with the nails, and she and so Michael and Thomas throw the boxes of nails away all around him, and then they're like, oh no, they're iron nails, and oh no, they're actually just aluminum nails, and this is a trick to buy some time. I was pleasantly surprised. It's like, Dresden, you didn't just try to power your way through.
So how much of a problem do you think the Lananshi is? That'd be the fairy godmother.
What do you mean,
Oh.
like, how much of a problem?
Yeah, how on a scale of 1 being very little, is she going to be an issue, to 5 being like, this is going to complicate things? How much of a problem do you think she's going to be?
I
Because he
think
owes
she's-
her a debt.
I think it's
Yeah,
gonna be
and
like
he's
a
broken
4.
word twice now.
Mhm.
So, and I think she's going to be like a 5 or maybe a 12 on that scale, because we do get all
Mhm.
these different, well, it's not even hints, it's very blatant. When she heals him, like, oh, you know, there's the explanation of the magic involved and just how powerful somebody has to be to work magic on
Yeah.
that level, knitting a human being's cells back together. And it's like, ah, Jim Butcher, foreshadowing, I swear.
I
This is
think,
going to be a major problem.
she's certainly going to be a problem for the rest of the series, because, you know, she's a fairy, she's sort of immortal, she's going to show up again, and so forth. And I would say like a 4 out of 5, because she's not completely, I mean, that's the point, she's not evil as such, right?
Mm.
Fairies are not good or evil, they're just like fairies.
Yeah,
They're
very
more like
capricious.
personifications of forces of nature.
Exactly. And that's the other thing, she wants him alive, right? She doesn't want him dead.
Yeah,
So she wants him to
she
do
possibly wants him as a dog. But
yeah,
you
but
know,
that's like the other thing is, like, she'd prefer him to actually become even more powerful before she gets him, because then he's going to be like a bigger dog, I guess.
can you imagine how many men would willingly become her dog? The number is not small. It's not a small number.
Yeah, I guess
It's a pretty
so.
big number.
She does have one of the best lines, I think, in the book, and it's the first part is like, I don't do metaphors, I'm too busy being one.
That one is so
And I
good.
thought,
Yeah.
oh man.
Yeah, she's a clever baddie.
Yeah.
Leia is one of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
She's just kind of awesome. Whether
Yeah.
you agree with her or not, I just think she's kind of like an awesome character. My favorite new thing that shows up here in this book
Mhm.
is how now we know since Harry has the doom of Damocles lifted off of him, he is now like almost he's no longer in trouble with the White Council, so his name actually carries weight as a member of the White Council.
Yeah.
And then there was a guy who told Dresden to walk away, who showed up at Bianca's house. What was his name? He was her boss. He like shows up for like 2 seconds and then he leaves.
Oh, the guy from South America, something Don Ortega, something like that.
Yes, Paula
Yeah.
Ortega.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I wonder why he showed up.
Just to drag another Latin American into that. I don't know. So here's another thing that I found super fascinating, though. Like how he totally does not introduce Michael.
Yeah,
he just
that's
treats
true.
him as part of the scene.
Michael's there. We never even like get to understand like how they met or anything. It's like, yeah, apparently those two have been hunting ghosts for like the last couple of weeks, and Charity hates him because, you know, he brings back people bruised and bloody.
Well, no, it says that Harry and Michael already soul gazed, and that they've been working together for a good bit, not all the time.
Yeah, but I mean, they've been doing like the whole like Leo, like that Eastern European wizard thing. And
what does that mean?
Well, isn't it fascinating that his name is like Leonid Krasov? Something
Kravitz.
Like Kravitz. Yeah, right. Because Jim Butcher has a typing mistake and he wanted to say Krasov and they didn't. But you know, it's like, why does he? Anyway, my point is like, so they did that one together. You never like between Full Moon and Grave Peril, apparently so much shit happened that you never find out about.
Well, yes, because here's a tidbit for you. Each book is about 11 to 14 months apart, and it's what Jim Butcher, he calls it the worst weekend of Harry's year.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So anytime we get dropped in there, it's for his worst weekend of the year. And some of the short stories and stuff go back in the timeline and do other stuff, which we'll get to eventually. But as far as, you know, it goes, he's like 25 at the beginning of Stormfront.
So he's now 27.
He's basically 20. Yeah, he's 27, 28 right now. So he's almost 30, but he's still, you know, a youngling to wizards. Like, because they apparently live for
I'm just trying to
time.
do you know, agree like what I did when I was 28? I'm like, yeah, it figures. Like I was very
made
dumb.
some mistakes.
Yeah, I got married at the time.
Done some things that you're are upset that are on your permanent record, but then some that you're just so glad no one's ever found out about, so they don't have to go on your permanent record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see I can see myself at 28 being very much Dresden at 28. Yeah.
Slaying those Latin American girls, is that what it is?
Not really. I live on the wrong continent for that.
Hey, if you build it, they will come. Wait, that's the wrong quote.
I was certainly into getting, like, you know, bruised all the way and just keeping going because I was dumb.
Yeah.
Actually, nothing has changed, actually.
Yeah, it just hurts a lot more now.
Ooh. I would be upset with you if you weren't very, very, very correct. So we'll just.
I can't wait. So if that's like one year per book, so I can't wait for like 50-year-old Harry Dresden like lamenting about how he's like not healing up after being beaten to pulp again and again.
That is something we'll have to wait until book 5 to talk about. But that is an interesting observation. So if there is one Knight of the Sword, but he's always calling them the Knights of the Sword.
There's 3
How
of them.
many? Yeah. So you're gonna end up with you. If we've met Michael, we're gonna have to meet the others.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
I want to see what those swords are like.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting. Like, I mean, Michael's fun in a way. I'm still kind of pissed that he's actually called Carpenter and he's a carpenter, which is not exactly important afterwards. He just makes that joke, and then from that on, they're just like, apparently he's not working. He's just spending his entire time driving around in his pickup truck.
Yeah. He's a contractor. So you can take as many jobs as you want or not take as many jobs as you want when you're a contractor. So it's like, all right, I'm not working to build a house this weekend. I'm working for the Lord and I'm going to stab something.
Yeah. The question is, like, at what point does he actually become a full-time knight and no longer a carpenter? At what point
that is an interesting question.
What is carpenting become his hobby, basically?
So we already like Father Forthill because he seems actually to be like a genuine dude, which I like. And then let's see, who else do we meet in this novel? Justine.
Mm-hmm.
What did y'all think of Justine?
I don't know. It just seems like kind of flaky eye candy.
I think it's interesting.
That is an accurate summary. Yeah. That pretty much, yeah.
I found it kind of interesting because she comes across as like the flaky eye candy. Exactly. Then you have that one point when they're like together in that like weird, like not a prison, but also there's a washing machine in there and whatnot place.
Oh yeah,
The laundry.
they're in
And
the
then
basement. They're in the
then
basement
yeah,
of
and then and
Bianca's mansion.
exactly, and then it suddenly is like that flaky eye candy is also my point to actually drive something home about mental illness. And I'm like, okay, that came out of left field. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't mind it. It makes a lot of sense. I've met people like that. Well,
Yeah.
not the eye candy part, but you know, the too much emotions and whatnot kind of persons. That makes a lot of
Mhm.
sense, but it was like at that point in the novel, it just felt like kind of out of place. In a way of like, yeah, apparently Jim Butcher really needs to talk about that problem or that
I
that
think
thing.
it sets up an interesting point about Thomas, is what I
Yeah.
think it does, because it also for Justine as well. But they talk about how, well, the white court, it basically feeds off of sexual emotion.
I think like
The key word
emotion
of
in
that
general,
being
right?
emotion. So if someone experiences extreme highs and extreme lows in their emotion, and someone has the ability to actually draw the emotion out, it seems to make perfect sense to me that they would make like a sort of symbiotic relationship out of that.
I think that's
it's like being a vegetarian in Twilight, but for a different type of vampire, which is kind of interesting.
I think that's like an interesting question, because like Dresden really hates Thomas because he's a vampire. He's also into sex, with which is something that is Dresden is like kind of stuck up about for some reason.
He's a Puritan.
Yeah, fuck Puritans. Point is,
that could be constituted as a threat, sir.
I know, not in that way, but the point is, so that's that thing, and it's going on, and he really hates Thomas. And then you have that one scene where Justina's like, yeah, and they gave me meds, and they didn't work for me because they, you know, they made me feel dumb and shit. And like, if you ever spoken with people that have like mental health issues and take medication, a lot of those people are like, I don't want to take those because they, you know, dampen down everything. They're not just like dampening down the highs and lows. They just like make you feel like you're living in cotton or whatnot. And she's like, yeah, but you know, Thomas draws it out, so I can like be a normal person without the meds.
Not have to.
Yeah. So suddenly what Thomas does is actually like benefiting her, and which raises that whole like, is like, he's still a vampire, but isn't he like a good guy because he actually objectively helps Justine having a better life in a way?
The problem is that he draws power from that interaction. So it's an interesting gray area, because
exactly. But you know, you're a psychiatrist who you know, gives you prescriptions for those meds, gets money for selling you those drugs in a way. So it's not exactly power, but you still have that kind of dynamic in a way. I'm not saying that's where I'm not saying that's where he wants to go with it, because I don't expect Jim Butcher to actually want to make like an overall social commentary or anything, but I'm just saying, like, the idea is still like, you have an outside agent who like helps to deal with that problem that is like too much emotion in this case, and they get something for it. For Thomas, it's power. For the people that sell you meds, it's money and whatnot. Because that's like how their job is, right? I'm not saying that they force you to be, you know, mentally ill so they can sell you drugs. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying their like role in society is to do that. Thomas' role in society is like
my question about like psychiatrists and things is, if Johnson & Johnson is now making a deal to not sell opioids anymore, due to the adverse effect that they had on a bunch of people, is it
Yeah.
possible that unqualified doctors were prescribing things that people didn't need specifically for the commission? It's not supposed to be a commission, but it pretty much is.
Yeah.
A commission. So it's like, I benefit from medication. Medication is a good idea, but you put an unscrupulous actor in that role and it gets very dicey very quick.
Yeah.
So I don't know, that whole there's a hint of that sort of a conversation, like in the really deep, like you got to be reaching to get to that subtext, but
Yeah.
I do think it's slightly valuable, especially considering when this was written, it's like 2003.
Something
So
like
it's
that,
like, okay.
we were still
pretty close,
happily taking opioids at that point.
Yeah.
No, not me. I was 12. I wasn't taking opioids yet. We'll get there.
I wasn't
was a different
12. I
year.
wasn't taking opioids. I might have been smoking weed at the time, though.
I know at 12, the worst thing I had done was I bought rolling papers at the corner store and then rolled up leaves to try and smoke leaves.
I remember that when I was like 9 or 10, we started smoking pine needles because we felt like big boys. And it's dumb.
No,
It
I
really
used
makes
to be
you
like,
sick.
I used to be like really into Wicca when I was 12.
Okay.
And
Nice.
so like I would go out into like, we had a space out behind the house. It was just a bunch of trees that grew together. And so we always called that area the bushes, but it was only like maybe 30 feet all the way around. It just had a pretty intense growth going on in that same 30 feet.
Yeah.
And so I'd go out there to the low spot where all the rainwater goes and dries out eventually. And I would like draw pentagrams and whatnot in there, being like, yeah, I'm edgy.
All right. So
Always made me laugh.
I might as well throw my 2 bits in. So we were like 13, 14, which was, the last century. We'd steal a bunch of dad's whiskey and we'd go get a can of gas and we go out in our bushes and we draw pentagrams in gas because we were all busy listening to Slayer and stuff, and then light them on fire while drinking and holding a gas can that's half full of gas.
Oh,
and surprisingly, that only went really bad one time.
You are incredibly lucky.
Yeah.
And my eyebrows grew back. So.
I did that with I did that with a can of hairspray to myself because I found I was the age where I figured out that hairspray plus fire equals cool little fire in the air, and so I was doing that, and then it backwashed on me a little bit. It didn't blow up the can or anything, but it like caught everything else that was still back there, and it went over my face. I had to explain that to people, being like, I was cooking rolls and I leaned too far into the oven.
Can I just say the fact that we have a person from Canada and a person from Texas, and the person from Canada is the one that is talking about like lighting pentagrams on fire.
Well, you haven't burned any churches yet, so.
Are you sure?
Canada has truly started to join the Norwegian metal scene, is the way I look at it. Is that Canada is now very seriously into Norwegian metal. That's my takeaway. That whole situation is a mess, and I am not touching it with a 10-foot pole. Like,
well,
I did nothing. I want nothing to do with it.
There is a song by the Norwegian black metal band Dark Throne that is called Canadian metal, so I'm pretty sure there's a connection there at some point.
Is Canadian metal shaped like a leaf?
Mostly it's like 3 chords and very fast.
Yeah.
Sad but true. Anyway. Let's ignore that maybe almost a Metallica joke and let's go back to Grave Peril.
So I have somebody here with me who wants to ask you a couple of questions.
Oh shit.
Raph.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, oh God.
So apparently, in the last episode of this program, you insinuated that you had read plenty of bad novels by Terry Goodkind. And I thought that was narcissistic and entirely improper. And I will have you know, I do not write fantasy novels. They are just novels. I am original. And objectively, I think you are incorrect about your statement there. Objectively.
I hope you're wearing the cape of objective reality for that.
Oh, no, I'm going to go get that in just a moment to reinforce my bad argument.
Because otherwise, I don't believe you.
One
also,
moment, please.
I think I'm objectively right that I said I've read one of those novels. I never progressed.
Oh, okay, I got you beat. I made it to the end of book 4, whatever it was called.
Is that the one with the nipple sex? No, the cutting nipples off thing is in book 2, right?
God, I can't remember. It was kind of a blur. I blanked most of it out.
All right. Oh shit. Now he's objectively right.
Okay. Now, and I think John can back me up here because he polishes a statue of John Galt on a regular basis. In what way does this popcorn fantasy novel that's not even popcorn with caramel, it's just regular popcorn, urban fantasy novel, in any way lines up with the great philosophy and work that I have plagiarized from a successful woman to allude to in my fantasy novel? I mean, it's just a novel. It's not, I didn't say fantasy just now. You didn't hear that. Okay.
Yeah. I don't think it like compares in any way possible, right? I mean, it doesn't make any claims on like the power of the individual to take down everyone else by being an asshole, which it doesn't do that. So it's not philosophy. I understand that.
Well, actually, it is fairly philosophical, Raph, because so far we've read 3 of these Dresden novels, and in every single one, Dresden always fails initially because he does not possess the correct knowledge or the true knowledge of what he's actually facing. So I think it's basically a Socratic problem, right? Every novel is a Socratic problem that Dresden actually has to understand and know what he's facing before he can defeat it.
But Dresden never engages in boy love.
That's true. So he fails on that.
Yeah.
You'll find none of that.
Yeah, I know.
In the Wizard's First Rule book series. I do not condone any of that at all. I just have weird, freaky places where they put collars on women, and I think that's fine.
Philosophy, who needs it, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're right, Raph. The Dresden novels are and nothing like the Goodkind novels, because these ones made me laugh and I enjoyed reading them. So
I think we're not appreciating the seriousness of the problem here, right? Like, there's not this, the stake of capitalism. Like, the fate of capitalism is not at stake.
Wait, does the stake of capitalism come from a cow?
Yes. But it's
okay. I'm just trying to keep up. That's all. I've only read Ayn Rand.
I ain't ranted yet. The stake of capitalism is like
medium rare.
Yeah, medium rare.
Here's the challenge. You have to bring the stake in capitalism back to Grave Peril. Go.
Oh shit.
You got this.
Give me a second. I need a. Oh, I'm smart. I can drink from the mead of poetry for that one.
Oh man, I'm waiting for this.
Yes, 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 yes.
All right.
This is the most laid back and fun thing I do on my channel, and I absolutely love it. It's fantastic.
All right.
I just want everyone to know I'm very proud of us. We hit 3 weeks in or 3 sessions in a row consistently. We are doing fantastic.
The Steak of Capitalism in the Dresden Files novels is very much that even though he's always mentioning that he's out of cash, he can always afford everything because he's actually hardworking, determined, and believing in himself. That's what makes a true man in all his manliness, even though he might be beaten up beyond anything that a actual physical body could take.
Yeah, and it also, I mean, it does epitomize the cult of the heroic individual as well, doesn't it? Right?
Yeah,
And that
he's certainly an
hero of
individual. Yeah,
yeah, that's the central hero of capitalism, the individual.
And he refuses to let the various corrupt powers keep him down or from exercising his business. And he also is anti the authority that gives him his license to practice that business in the first place. It's an interesting position to hold, but I do find it to be amusing.
Yeah, I get that.
These fucking normals trying to stop me. Also, fuck you, White Council.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, well, we all know that regulations are just a socialist ploy to limit our freedoms, right? So
No. Socialism is when a state does anything as a state. That's socialism.
It's true.
I
That's
read
right, I
this in a
forgot.
comment once on Reddit. I know it to be true. I'm 14.
Okay, so is
So
the White Council
is you being 14 before you start writing Wizard's First Rule or after?
Okay, I didn't start Wizard's First Rule until I read a New York Times bestselling author called Jobber Gordon. And then I realized there was a market for this sort of thing. So I blatantly took plot points and similar descriptors and reskinned them through my own sexist language and handcuffs, and then published it as an original work. And it made me tons of money. Tons of money.
That makes a lot of sense. Also, I really appreciate the language about poisonous plants because it really captures the insidiousness of like socialism growing in the underground. I appreciate
you have to
that.
root that shit out.
Yeah,
you have to root that shit out.
Exactly.
You cannot allow that to take place. In an ideal society where people run around with swords, and that's the ideal society, someone would build a statue and protest, and somehow people would pay him for it.
Yeah.
Wait, that's not from an Ayn Rand book. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's an original thought. Okay.
So don't put it into your books.
I can't believe you would do this to me. That is so rude.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay. Any sort? No. You're fine. It was absolutely a blast. I love doing that. I hardly ever have an excuse to do it anymore. It's fun. It's absolutely ridiculous. That's the entire point of it. It just hurts to keep that voice up for a while. After a little bit, I'm like, all right, that's enough. How did Christian Bale ever make the Batman movies? This is ridiculous.
I would just love him to just like show up. It's like, I'm Terry Goodkind.
Oh, I'm going to Dragon Con next year as Terry Goodkind.
You are?
Nice.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Take some cough drops.
I'm
man.
gonna record as much things as I possibly can.
Yeah.
Try to interview people, try to talk to people, and it's gonna be like Borat, but even dumber because
Nice.
I'm not gonna do anything stupid like in the Borat movies. I'm just gonna refuse to break character for as long as I possibly can.
Very good. Shall we go back to Grave Peril though for a moment? Because otherwise I need to tell you about this like meat of poetry that I don't want to talk about because I made it and I'm not into poetry.
Actually, I have a question. It's definitely for Raph, and I don't know how much like D&D you've played, Cal, but me and Raph have talked about this a few times. We both like to play paladins, and Raph, I want to know, like, what do you think about Michael as a paladin? You know, as if you were DMing him.
I think
You
it's
were
actually,
sliding into Michael's DMs.
yeah. I think Michael is actually really good because he's annoying, but never like played to the hilt, right? Hilt, if I can say that with like the sword metaphors and all that shit. But you know, I think was that Terry Pratchett I read. I always come back to Pratchett. I think it was Pratchett. It was like it's nothing as disturbing as an actually faithful, like a true believer who's actually faithful.
Mhm.
And I feel that's sort of what you get with Michael, right? He is the good guy without anything. It's played straight. There's nothing there. He's not like secretly an asshole or anything. No, he actually is a good person. And I think that this is important to understand because those people exist. There's not as
Yeah.
many as we would like to have them, but those people exist. And I found that like that was like one of the things that I found interesting is like Father, I keep forgetting his name, Fourth something.
No,
What?
Fort Hill.
Fort Hill, yeah.
Yep.
I was like, I've
I
known,
almost said Father Callahan.
yeah, I've known Catholic priests. I've known cool Catholic priests, like really cool Catholic priests. They exist.
Yeah.
They're nice people. They are extremely faithful because you know they believe in the shit they're doing. I've just never had any of them being like, yeah, I'll just read you the Gospels. That's not how modern priests work. There's way more like psychological training and shit that goes into that. It's like that point when he's like, what he does to Lydia is like, so I sat down and read her the Gospel of Matthew. And I'm like, sure you did.
Well, he might have actually done that.
Yeah, he might have done that, but no wonder she lit out. Come on. I mean,
well, if she was possessed at the time,
she wasn't.
Then according to the scripture, demons cannot abide the word of God. And so
but she wasn't possessed, and her name wasn't Legion. I think the point was that she went sorry. I've read the Gospel of Matthew.
That is it's a good book. It's a good book. I think everybody should read it.
I know.
It's got some fascinating plot twists.
Yeah. No, I think
it's an insane book.
Yeah. It's not Ezekiel, but it's pretty cool.
It's not Leviticus. Leviticus is cool.
Leviticus is Leviticus has the best rules about when to stone an oxen that I've ever read.
Maybe the only rules.
I wouldn't say that. I'm pretty sure there's others. No.
So if we were to get the oxen high, we would be following the scriptures.
Yeah. No, my point is that like while I really appreciate Michael being like, you know, the straightforward, like true believer, whatever, and a good person and all of that. and it works. It's really cool because, you know, it kind of subverts the whole like grimdark, everyone is a cynic kind of trope. I feel that Father Fortil comes across as something of a cliche of a priest. He's still a good guy and everything.
And I think that's fair in this book. I do.
Yeah.
I do think that's based off of the information. That's fair.
Yeah.
So I'm going to agree with your assessment as of this book, but I'm also going to disagree with you in the future.
Yeah, to quote a famous lower class hobbit, this, if I read one more Dresden book, it's going to be the furthest I've ever read in the Dresden Files.
If I read one more book, this will be the farthest time I've read in Dresden I've ever been.
Yeah.
I mixed up some of the same words in there.
I've been to Dresden once. It's not worth it. Just saying.
Oh, it's not that bad.
No, it's not that bad. It's not that good either. Also, it's full of Nazis.
Burn.
That's a different thing.
Yeah. That's
Yeah, you know, some people you can't bomb them out. It just like
Bruh.
I shouldn't say that. I feel almost sorry. Like I live in that country. Anyway, let's smooth over that. Like
Okay,
glass.
so the dynamic got completely changed at the end of this book because essentially, whether Harry wanted to or not, him and Susan broke up.
Yeah.
Through context clues, we know this is the first woman he's ever loved. Whatever.
Yeah.
And
I found that really good though. Like from the beginning, when we have that first conversation that Michael and him have, is like, so you love her, and like, even though, you know, Butcher like puts all that stuff in there, it's like, I can't talk about love and stuff. Like, I'm a dude. I'm not a good dude. I'm just a dude. Like saying the words "I love you" is so fucking difficult. And I'm saying this as
it's got to be worth the risk reward.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm saying this as a person who got married once. It's like, even without the whole like, oh, I was traumatized by my first love and all that stuff. Like, no, saying I love you is really, really difficult.
Okay, how about this? I love you. That was Terry Goodkind. Terry Goodkind loves you.
That's good. I can live with that. Does Terry Goodkind know I'm a guy? It's like, I know I have the long hair and it's blonde and everything, so it's like very much his type, but you know, the beard.
There's nothing wrong with a beard. I just wish I could grow one.
Very good.
Physical impossibility.
Yeah.
I've tried it before.
Yeah.
I went 6 months and people told me to wash my face.
Oh man.
Yeah. You know what Ayn
Bunch of
Rand said?
bastards.
You know what Ayn Rand said? Shaving cream, who needs it?
The most feminine aspect is a chain.
Yeah.
That's an Ayn Rand quote.
I know.
Really?
Bruh. Yes. She had some interesting notions. Don't really work. But they are interesting. I mean, like, how did you reach this conclusion?
All right, let's go back to Grave Peril. So, look, once we're done with Dresden, we can totally go and do like the Atlas Shrugged discussion podcast.
Oh man, that'd be fun.
Ah, damn it. I don't want to reread that book.
Yeah,
But I
no,
will.
You've actually read it? Wow. I can't believe anybody's
Like I
actually
said,
read
I'm 14.
Anyway, so let's go back. One thing that I wanted to talk about is like, how did you guys actually like the ending of it? Because like, I mean, we know that Dresden is a badass. And then he just like burns down the entire like garden and shit. And then he just like takes down the entire building. And I was like, that's like a huge step up when it comes to like overall scale of like mayhem.
Okay, but let me give you an extra layer to view those events through.
Yeah.
Before he actually burns everything down, he's already burned a bunch of kids before he gets his power back from Kravitz.
Yeah.
So he's trying to put 3 or 4 more times the effort into every spell he's casting right now because he can't even get Flickum Bickus to work.
Mm-hmm.
So then he eats the ghost of Leonard Kravitz and he goes up outside the mansion and he starts throwing fire around again.
Yeah.
This time, like trying to punch with a 10-pound weight on your wrist, and then you take the 10-pound weight off. Oops. That was a lot more than I meant to do.
No, I get that. It was more like the level of like, compared to like the first 2 books, the level of mayhem that Dresden can actually cause was just like 2-3 more steps above. Like, I mean, it kind of makes sense because
it's also the most emotionally extreme he's ever been at this point.
True.
And actually, the police station in the second book in Fool's Moon, I mean, when the Lugaroo's coming at him and he pulls out his blasting rod, I mean, that's a pretty Death Star moment, you know.
That's true. I get that. I was still like, holy shit, how have we gotten there? It's like he kind of hinted that like, yeah, Dresden is apparently like this super powerful wizard. And then suddenly just like, yeah, I'll just like burn everyone down. Fuck him. And I get that. I feel like that all the time. I'm like, yeah, I would do that. But it's like,
especially at the leftist meeting, the local leftist meeting.
Yeah. Not only that.
Not only that. There are other times. Convenience stores. Random light poles in the street.
If I could burn down every random light pole that has ever insulted me by its existence, this planet would be so much darker. I can tell you that.
Probably exclusively in the area that you live in. Be like, there's for some reason we have like 1/3 the amount of light poles we should have in this area. We don't know what's going on. The city kept saying there's no problem. Ignore this. And,
Yep. Story of my life.
So future concerns.
Yeah.
Where do you think what sort of adventure do you expect the next Dresden file to go with? So far we've had demon summoning sorcerers, werewolves, and then demon summoning sorcerers again, plus vampires.
I feel like
oh yeah, and fairies. Fairies were a serious problem in this book. So where do you think the next sort of existential magical enemy he's going to have to face is?
Mm.
You say Ayn Rand.
Look, you can't beat her with logic because she doesn't care. That's the problem.
Hey, she was a strong, independent woman.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Can I just quote Terry Pratchett for a second? Logic is a wonderful thing, but it doesn't always beat actual thought. So what I find interesting is like the ending of Grave Peril. When you have that point and Bob is talking to him, it's like, yeah, you gotta, snap out of it and just like trying to actually unvampire Susan because finally you realize that you're actually into that girl. And it's like, yeah, there's a war on. Berlin got destroyed, and
yeah,
was it Dublin? Some other city got destroyed. over there, comfortably over there in Europe.
Mhm. The
I
basis for
expect-
the White Council is in
Yeah.
Europe.
Yeah, I expect that to actually show up in the next book. If it doesn't show up, the war between the vampires and the White Council, I'd be pissed. Or I'd need like a really good explanation why it doesn't show up in like something like, yeah, this is like 5 years later. We've killed all the damn vampires over there because, you know, if that doesn't happen, I'll be pissed. So I expect the war thing to actually have an impact.
Okay. Okay. We're going to mark it down as Raph has an expectation of, if I don't see wizards versus vampires, this is the most bullshit thing to ever happen in the history of bullshit, because I'm spending my time on this, goddammit.
Yeah. I have
Okay.
to.
I think that's
I'm gonna
that's
read
a
this.
solid prediction.
Yeah, I'm gonna read this before the God is Not Willing comes out, because then I'm gonna do the God is Not Willing like brutal marathon.
I hate you. I fucking hate you. I don't have a copy and can't get one. I hate.
But that's the point. Is like I'm gonna read this like in the next couple of days because I got nothing else to do. So I'm gonna read that fourth book, whose name I forgot because I'm done.
House of Chains?
As it changes, always the fourth book. I know.
What you just need to do is just read the first book of House of Chains. Just the very first book.
I'm gonna slaughter some children.
You're an insane person. So John, what do you think? What do you think the next big problem is going to be? And what sort of expectations do you have set here? I'm curious.
I think the next big problem is going to be, I hope, Dresden trying to unvampire Susan, actually pulling his thumb out, and it's going to require some esoteric source of lore from something we haven't seen yet, in a strange twist. That's my guess, because the White Council is not going to know about this. The vampires aren't going to help him, obviously. Bob doesn't know about this. His fairy godmother will help him, but for a brutal price. So he's going to do something, try and find a different source of knowledge.
See, that's like the other thing that I think is going to come up at some point. That demon that he summoned in book 2, whose name I have forgotten.
Chauncey.
Chauncey, yeah.
Shansagaroth or whatever his name is. Yeah, Chauncey. I'm pretty sure he's going to summon Chauncey at some point and give him his like last like name, and damn shit's going to hit the fan. It's probably not going to happen in book 4. It might be like book 7 or 8, sort of my guess, but it's going to happen. Just saying.
Okay. Anyone else got any sort of predictions at all?
What kind of like supernatural beings haven't we met so far?
We didn't talk vampires, about the fact werewolves,
that's the point. I so absolutely love that moment where they meet the dragon at the ball.
Pharaohvax, you're freaking right. Pharaohvax. We did not mention Pharaohvax at all. I thought about it earlier, we were doing something different, so I completely forgot. But
I love that moment with the dragon, and he's like, "Yeah, I just fucking don't care. You fucking humans." Kids.
Yeah, he really doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
But Michael slew one of the last dragons.
Yep.
So because we see Harry bring it up, but when I first read that part where he was talking to Susan, it was like, oh yeah, he saved her from a dragon. I was like, he's being a little bit of a dick here.
Yeah.
He's kind of fucking with her. But then the longer it goes on, and then when Michael actually meets Pharaohvax, I was like, oh, you have killed the dragon.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Of course he did. He's a paladin.
I just love the fact, like during the ball, the entire time during the ball, Dresden is behaving like an absolute dick, and his like so-called escort is so much smarter and so much better at actually navigating the entire thing, because like Michael knows all that stuff, and Dresden's like, I never bothered to look it up. Fuck him. So you're a dragon.
which
Yeah, I don't care.
no, which I can actually respect 110%.
Yeah.
I can actually like what I nope, not reading up on that. That sounds like horse shit. Fuck you.
I totally get the whole idea of fake it until you make it. But
Right.
if you're running up against a dragon, it kind of, falls to pieces.
Yeah.
I just love that entire, like, the way it's introduced, and it's like,
You'll want to pause for just a second so I can go grab some more water real quick and use the bathroom. I think we got another 20, 25 minutes left if you want to keep going.
let's take that pause. I can take a piss, and then you just edit it out, I guess.
Yeah, it's going to be, I'm not going to leave like 6-7 minutes of dead air. Although it would be really funny. It would actually be fucking hilarious if I actually did that,
Yeah.
because it would.
I'm radio werewolf. Oops. I was dumb.
Hey, Ref.
Yep. I was dumb. I spilled the meat of poetry.
Oh no.
It's gonna be really dumb jokes from here on out. Apparently.
There goes your muse.
I'm not saying it's like, a big surprise or anything. I'm just saying, it's the truth.
Yeah. Yeah, I really hope Michael sticks around.
Yeah, he's cool.
I really like that character. Yeah.
No, I just love the fact that he's actually playing him straight.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, he's a straight up believer, and I have
Yeah,
respect
it's
for
cool.
that. It's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Don't yada yada God. I just love that. Don't do that.
Here we go. 4.5 minutes. And everyone was gone when we started this. I went back to go grab a Dr. Pepper and to make sure that I brought my bottle of water in here. And everyone was back.
Yeah.
So I'm wearing a hat, an overcoat, a button, a pearl snap shirt, and a knitted cape. And I have to justify that. I was like, I'm coming to grab a Dr. Pepper. Yes, I am wearing a cape. It is for a bit. Please do not step on it. I had to do that about 4 times.
I'm still like, I hope the cape is not too long, because I'm not good with feet measures and stuff like that.
No. It's perfect. It's perfect. Like, it doesn't touch the ground at all. Unless I like pull all the way up on it and let it dangle instead of being over the shoulders like it's supposed to be. It glides. It's pretty hilarious. They called me Darth,
Awesome.
and I thought that was great.
It took me all of 2 weeks to actually make that.
Oh, this is seriously one of the coolest things anyone has ever sent me. Like, it's just awesome. Like,
It's pretty amazing.
you have any idea how much I enjoy telling the story of how I got this cape to people? It is awesome. I was like, well, I was watching a YouTube video of someone who knits while they talk about a book series I like. And he said he was finished with a scarf and now he was going to make something else. And I said, make a cape. And he said, okay, I'll make a cape. And I, being completely flabbergasted, was like, okay, cool. I wasn't like literal, but that's awesome. And you're like, what color do you want? And I was like, I guess gray, because gray is cool. And then over the next like 3.5 weeks, he did the entire thing, then mailed it from Germany, and it showed up at my house. And people were like, that is kind of cool. I'm like, did you know that he also can't see while he's doing all of these tasks? And they're like, are you kidding me? Like, yeah, my blind German friend knitted me a cape. And they're like, it sounds like you're making up a story right now. I'm like, no, this is a literal thing to happen to be in my life.
It's also documented.
How many
on
other people
video.
can say as much? That's pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah, he was
And
awesome.
I didn't know what I was doing. I was making up the whole idea of the cape while I was going along. I was like, I'm gonna make this whole thing, and I'm gonna figure out how to do the neckline. I have no idea how to do that. I just like did
Yeah.
something.
It works. It works.
Yeah.
It doesn't. There's no like flair or really collar to speak of, but there doesn't have to be. That's not what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
A cloak would be entirely different as far as hood shape goes, but it completely freaking works, and I like it. I also like
Mhm.
putting it on my nephew and watching him try to walk around while he's like 22 pounds. It's pretty great. It's pretty awesome.
It is amazing. Yeah, one thing I want to add to my predictions about the next one is I really hope Michael shows up because I really enjoy that character.
Yeah.
He's awesome. Just
Yeah,
I've been
how can you not
playing-
like Michael?
I know I've been playing Paladins since 1996 in every edition of D&D anybody's ever heard of, and Michael is just like nails it, man. 10 out of 10. That's exactly the way you should be playing a Paladin.
Yeah,
Going on
and
record.
that he was one of the ones that he rolled up on a character sheet in 3.5, I think,
Mhm.
which is hilarious and awesome.
Well, it would be better if it wasn't like 3.5, but that's the thing.
Hey.
No,
Hey,
you can
hey.
bear in mind this was like 25 years ago that this book was first conceived of and started. Yeah, it was a good bit ago.
I started playing Dungeons and Dragons on like 3.0 edition because I was playing like Baldur's Gate, the computer game at the time. Yes, I could still see enough to play.
Baldur's
computer
Gate
games.
is a great game.
I know,
Mhm.
and then
Neverwinter
like,
Nights is ridiculous, but Baldur's Gate is good.
Baldur's Gate is great, and so we played like me and some of my friends. We all played Baldur's Gate, and was like, let's get those books and actually play that on our table, and that's how we started playing Dungeons and Dragons, and then things escalated from there. How many hats do you have?
I wanted to do a character. I have my motorcycle helmet over there. It's like in the corner, if you can see it.
Yeah.
I wanted to put that on and then ask some questions from the point of view of a reader who needs to wear a helmet.
See, that's an interesting thing that like we see that point that apparently Murphy is actually riding motorcycles, which we never known
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
before. And he just like drops it on the side and is like, yeah, we go to like Malone's place and there's like Murphy's motorcycle. I'm like, why is she there on her motorbike?
It was
Mhm.
important. It was
Yeah.
personal.
Yeah, of course it's personal. I feel that's like the other thing, like the new cop, whose name I've already forgotten. By
Rudolph?
No, not Rudolph. The other one. The old dude.
Stallings?
Stallings, yes.
Stallings.
They no longer Carmichael.
Yeah.
Which is-
it's a
which is
different guy
sup-
now.
Which is super interesting because like the first thing he tells about Starlings is that he has actually like a clean shirt and a clean like tie.
Yeah, he actually takes care of himself instead of Carmichael, who just did not give a shit.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And I just found it interesting that he's like, yeah, that's sort of what differentiates different cops, is like how they take care of themselves. It's not about their personality, it's just about grooming. And I'm like, yeah.
You have any idea how that's actually like a deep and profound statement?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't just work for police.
Yeah.
It works for
Mhm.
every workplace you've ever worked in across the board.
Yeah.
If someone has poor hygiene, then things get odd. The best thing to do is yell at them because they'll either learn or they won't, and then they'll quit. But it generally forces the issue pretty quick.
Yeah.
And I think the same goes for police officers.
I was just like, Chicago PD is sponsored by Manscaped.
Oh, speaking of which, we have our very first ad read because we are such a watched program that we warrant an ad read
All right.
from something that doesn't actually exist.
Oh, what? I can't believe that. That's terrible. Why? 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 Has this ever happened to you? Have you been on your computing device and run across something that's so terribly offensive that it makes you question the rightness and authenticity of the world? Well, have I got a product for you. Introducing the Worldview Protector 3000. It will filter out anything that you don't want to see, anything that you really don't want to read, ideas you find distasteful. Well, the Worldview Protector 3000 automatically takes all of those and turns them into things you would already enjoy. Sick of seeing furries on the internet? Well, you've got no more problem after you get the Worldview Protector 3000. That's the WVP 3000. And right now, listeners to this program can go to worldviewprotector3000.net/reallygoodandkind for a 15% off discount code and never have to see someone complimenting J.K. Rowling ever again. And never see someone send you a gab link ever again. And never see an anti-vax meme ever again. We will now cut to some real-world testimonials of real people who have used the Worldview Protector 3000 and how their lives improved. Well, after I got the Worldview Protector 3000, I was then able to stop having to see these ridiculous quizzes that they have online, like, which Catholic heresy are you? And now I don't even have to see that. He just replaced it with the I have become euphoric copy pasta. After I got the Worldview Protector 3000, I didn't have to see another broad talking about how she was getting married. Skadoosh! After I got the Worldview Protector 3000, I no longer had to deal with round earth conspiracy theories. I can just go into the Facebook groups that I prefer and talk about how Stanley Kubrick faked the moon landing without having these obnoxious liberal douchetards come in there and tell me to go do a scientific study. If I was a scientist, I wouldn't believe in flat Earth. Yep, we at Really Good and Kind are really, really happy to have our first sponsorship, which is for the Worldview Protector 3000. They sent me this model, and I'll tell you what, I was reading a Terry Goodkind book, and anytime I had some criticism towards it, Worldview Protector just sucked it right up on out of there. Welcome back to Really Good and Kind. Worldview Protector 3000, thank you for sponsoring this video. Now, when I go into my family's group text, people I don't even see them telling me to stop drinking, or saying that my lifestyle is unhealthy, or that no one gives a shit about the types of things you're trying to do online. It's just amazing. I'm really happy with this product.
Here's a Dresden related question.
Yeah.
In your mental headcanon, is Dresden ever wearing a hat?
Nope.
That's funny because I thought he always wore a hat, like a fedora.
He says that he's wearing a
It
fedora at
sounds-
some point.
I don't think he ever says he's wearing a hat, ever.
Huh.
He never mentions a hat. He mentions everything else, like a 2005 online Harry Potter erotica fan fiction, but he does not mention a hat.
I think it's mentioned on the outside at the beginning of Grave Peril when they're like, you look like someone, like an extra from the set of whatever Western thing, El Dorado. And
Yeah.
someone says like, you're wearing a fedora. And that's sort of where the idea of like he's wearing a fedora.
Where I do not remember this at all.
It's at the beginning of
I
Grave Peril.
do not remember this at all.
I can't
I
remember who's
I
saying
don't think that
to him.
happens. I
Who's
don't think
making
so.
who's making the El Dorado joke to him? It
Michael?
it might be Michael.
I think it's Michael. Yeah,
I
because
think it's-
Dresden says something about Michael's cape.
Yeah.
And then
But
Michael
we
comes
know
back
what
and says,
Dresden wears in a battle, though. He wears sweatpants, cowboy boots, and a comically large leather duster. So he does look like an extra out of El Dorado. Like he'd be running in the background while a gunfight happens.
I know that's like kind of the point, and I think at that situation when he says like, yeah, Michael, your cape and stuff, like, you look like an extra from El Dorado. It's like, why? It's like the duster, the boots, the fedora, and I think that's sort of where the hat is mentioned.
I
once.
don't think he says fedora. I don't think that happens.
I am not quite sure.
I'll have to go check.
I'm almost tempted to bring the book up on my phone and just start it at chapter 1 because I'm that convinced. I'm not going to do that.
One sec, I don't know how he looks. He's tall, he's skinny, he wears a leather duster, and plays Dungeons and Dragons with his like werewolf buddies.
Well, it's like, in classical fantasy, wizards wear hats. Gandalf wears a hat.
Yeah.
Which is
I
really
just love the idea, like
example,
wizards are subtle and quick to anger. And I get the quick to anger part, but Dresden is anything but subtle.
Yeah. Here's one Lord of the Rings quote that I think personifies Harry Dresden. The burned hand teaches best.
Yeah.
Oh, good one.
Yeah, true. Wizards are sledgehammers.
Hey, Harry Dresden. Hey, Harry Dresden. That's a really hot surface over there. You probably shouldn't touch it or go anywhere near it because it's really incredibly hot and you don't really need to be fucking with that at all.
Oh, right.
Fuck you for telling me that.
Yeah. True.
Oh,
So much of like an American thing. Well, that's the point. Like, he's 28. How many warnings did you ignore when you were 28?
All of them.
I know.
They were suggestions. And despite previous patterns, I said, I'm the exception to that pattern.
Yeah.
It turns out, no, I am not.
I know.
No, I am not.
That's kind of the point. It's like, yeah, it's like, I think that's like the other thing that we read books and we're like, those people are dumb, and yeah, they're dumb. But we the point where we can say those people are dumb is the point where we have like stopped realizing that we are also dumb and have been dumb for like the last 30 years or whatever.
10, 30, 50,000 years. Pick a range of years.
I'm not saying I wouldn't do anything that Dresden is doing. I probably would do the same, like most of the stuff he's doing right now, because I'm dumb.
Mm-hmm. But it's like, okay, so you're like, you try and put yourself in his position.
Yeah. He does these
vampires are showing up at your house with invitations to their parties. The guy who specializes in ghosts doesn't want anything to do with what's going on right now and leaves. Mm-hmm. And what are you supposed to do? You just try to hide from the ghosts and the vampires that are around and don't get involved? Or do you threaten them with bodily harm when they set foot on your property?
Hit him with your blasting rod next time.
And
I'll get one of my Mall Ninja swords. It's the cape of objective reality, sir.
I'm not sure if that works, but it will be awesome.
Whatever I say is objective reality while I wear the cape of objective reality.
I just, so, like
Ayn Rand did nothing wrong.
I beg to disagree. Anyway.
But I'm wearing the cape of objective reality.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
I'm wearing the cape.
Ayn Rand did nothing wrong.
But I'm wearing the cape. We just established this.
Yeah. 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 So
Didn't resist.
Here's a thing though, that like, so I did enjoy Stormfront, and I had some fun at some parts of Blood Moon. Was it Blood Moon? Whatever, that
Full Moon.
Full Moon, that one.
Each title of every book is the same number of letters for each word, and it's always 2 words.
Yeah.
So Stormfront, Full Moon, Grave Peril,
and so forth. And I even had some fun with that. And I feel like with Grave Peril, he's like, so here's also the world. There's like the White Council. There's like the vampires. And you can see like the role-playing game background when it's like, there's
they're
vampires.
like factions, yeah.
Yeah, there's always factions. There has to be factions because,
Stalin was right. Factionalism.
I don't have
breeds
to
warfare.
I don't have to like him, but he had a point at some point. But that's like, he goes through that and it's like he really opens up. It's like, yeah, he mentions the never never in the one before, and he slowly introduces the fact that his mother had some connection to his fairy godmother and stuff like that. And the way he keeps on building up, but this is like sort of where the entire thing is like just opens up. And it's like, holy shit, there's all that other stuff. There's the never never. There's apparently paladins wielding sacred swords because
there's only 3 paladins apparently. Only 3.
Yeah, well, 3 is enough. 1 is enough. His name is Carpenter.
Lay on Hands is OP. Freaking Smite is OP, especially after you get like 3 combat attacks in a turn, which happens at like level 7 with a fucking paladin. And then you're doing like, oh yeah, I want to do Smite along with that. It's like, oh, okay, just do 9d8 right now. Just roll that. Okay, there's your damage. Thank you.
Yeah. I still hate him for him. Like, his name is Michael Joseph something Carpenter. He's a carpenter. I'm like,
Patrick.
Damn you, Patrick. Which is interesting when you which is interesting
and
when you
Harry Dresden has 4 names.
Harry Blackstone Copperfield Dresden.
Copperfield, yes. Yeah. They both have 4 names, which is weird. Nobody else has 4 names except for these 2, apparently.
I got 3.
Which is
I got 3 and good.
I've met people with 4 names.
Yeah,
they're kind of crazy. They're crazy.
Well, I'm not gonna exclude Harry Blackstone Copperfield Dresden from that one.
Well, those are all like magician names.
Yeah, I know.
Which is hilarious.
I do really love like the way he's like expanding the whole idea of Bob as a spirit who's like totally into porn all the time.
Oh, a spirit of intellect. Well, here's the thing: is Bob is a being of the never never.
Yeah.
Who refuses to go back to the never never and instead chooses to reside in a skull in his laboratory.
Yeah. Because of reasons.
Well, no, they say that he's hiding.
Yeah,
in this book. And so, who do you think he's hiding from?
Everyone at this point.
Of characters we've met in this book, who would you say he's hiding from? And then
And
we got
we-
to talk about my absolute favorite character in this book.
We've only met one never character so far. So that's the point. It's like it's easy to choose, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's her though, because when Dresden leaves, she could have just like taken Bob at the time when he's like lying around and eating shrooms and stuff like that, and she doesn't.
Talking about porn, making love potions.
Yeah.
Bob doesn't really understand human morality,
I feel
right?
that's
Because they even directly address that when he asked Bob a question and he said, "Oh yeah, just go over there and start killing every." Wait, this is one of those morality things, isn't it?
yeah
he goes,
exactly.
Yeah. And he was like, "Well, I see the clear answer to get to the other side, but your morality is getting in the way, so
Yeah.
I'm not going to suggest that." Which is interesting that he knows that. But because Harry wouldn't like it, he has to couch it in those terms.
Yeah.
Because what he's doing is he's giving Harry options every time Harry asks him for options with what situation he's dealing with.
Yeah.
And so he still filters those options through Harry's own morality, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, true.
Oh, okay. So my favorite character is Mavra. Mavra is a scary fucking lady. That is who Mavra is.
Yeah.
So my favorite scene is where she appears on the steps and just starts playing all of the technicalities while also being super threatening at the same time. It's just it's chef's kiss. It's like a scene from a Western.
Yeah.
Where the obvious villain walks into the bar and starts ordering a drink and refusing to engage with the fact, they have like 19 guns or whatever it is about this person. And they play it 100% straight and they never deviate from it. It's weird that happens in and of itself. It's like Casey Anthony, but with like freaking vampire powers, which is scary to think about. But that whole scene is one of my favorite things. Just the way Mavra handled the situation, because she outplayed him.
Yeah. So there's like two things that I found interesting. Like one thing is the one that will get us canceled. So I'm gonna pull it up because engagement.
No. Give it to us. We can cut whatever. Before I upload it, I'll send you guys the final copy if you want to take a look at it first.
No, so the thing is like that he's like at some point Dresden, because he's the narrator, is like, I say it because she left all like traces of personality behind. I'm like, okay, that's a rough statement. I kind of
wait. I'm sorry. You cut out. You cut out. I got the second part. Can you give me that statement one more time again? Because I want to make sure I understand it.
Yeah. So he's like, so Dresden is like, so Dresden in his narration says like, I am saying it because she's no longer female. And I see what he's going for, but it's like, holy shit, that's
like it's like it's transcended so much beyond human at that point.
I know what he's going for, and I totally agree with it.
It's like in the
in
Alien movies, the aliens are all female.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah, I know. Now, okay, to make this clear, I'm not accusing him of anything. I'm just saying, like, this would totally not fly in 2021.
Yeah.
I do think you're correct on that. I actually do. Things have gotten incredibly dumber the longer time has continued to continue. So I'm a little disappointed in that. I wish it would stop if I have to go through this shit.
I see what he's doing there. I understand it, and I'm like, yeah, makes sense. But yeah, this totally wouldn't fly today. But then, I mean, I regularly
some of the weird passages I have like a problem with in this book are like during the flashback sequence when he talks to Lydia for the first time
Yeah.
And he goes, nipple erection on command.
That one is weird. Yeah. That one is
That
Yeah.
one,
holy shit.
I was like, I don't know if you're being hyperbolic, but not exactly how that works. And it struck me as hilarious because I thought it was intentionally bad at the time. But every time I go back to it, I'm like, I go, why? Why would you do that?
Yeah.
And like Dresden Files is very much about like the male gaze in a way.
Yeah.
And
time.
Well, it's more of the hairy gaze, I think.
it's the horny male gaze, which
Yeah.
might be the same thing as the hairy gaze.
I'm going to bathe myself in light because I know I'm going to be correct here. But
better to be correct than be erect at this point.
yeah, I'm a homo directus. Okay. So
I'm just saying.
I think the point of that is that people who take sexual gratification for more than the actual value it is will not make good decisions.
Yeah.
That's it.
I just feel like the way he's describing that first
That's my
meeting,
controversial point. That's why I had to
Mm.
be bathed in light when I said it.
the way he describes that first meeting with Lydia is sort of like, yeah, people who, you know, actually sell their body to get something. He's kind of putting them down.
No,
in a
I
way.
don't think he is. I don't think he is, because he doesn't actually see it as a problem. You look at
Yeah.
Stormfront when he
Yeah.
talks to the lady who's she's part of like the rituals and all of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who works for the family. Like, he doesn't hold anything about what she's doing against her.
Yeah.
It's not something he would do. So
I know,
whether or not
no.
he agrees with what they're doing, it's not like he's actually going to actively try to play that card for personal benefit.
No.
Which I think makes a huge difference between what some people see as like terrible behavior, because it can be, but it also depends on the intent of the person with the output that you're seeing. It's I don't know if I articulated that well, but I don't know.
No, I know what
I
you
don't know.
I
I'm a
know
moron.
I know what you mean, but the thing is, like with Lydia, he's like, she's doing that, and the way he describes it is like, holy shit, man. Come on.
Okay, so let me ask you a weird question. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Have you read any modern fantasy erotica?
Nope.
This is actually a really important question.
I have not.
So modern fantasy erotica is written for the people who bought Twilight in the year those books came out.
Yeah.
2007, 2008. So what it does is it takes common erotica tropes and it pairs them with the Twilight supernatural-esque world.
Yeah.
And I'm not like a fan of this sort of thing, but I became aware of it because of a YouTube video, and I was just reading more and more about it to try and figure out what it was.
Well, I know
And-
there exists a novel called, or a short story called Pounded by the Pumpkin Patch. And I'm
No,
like,
that's just Chuck Tingle. Chuck Tingle is the greatest
Tingle
working
is the-
satirist in America today.
yeah, I know.
He's the greatest satirist of all time, as far as, like, I'm serious. I really think he's great.
He's
Because his
amazing.
entire thing is he satirizes literally everything, and it's actually it's pretty profound. Actually,
Yeah.
is the stupid part is, pounded in my butt
Yeah.
should not make as much sense as it does, but I don't know. I think he's a genius.
Trans wizard
I'm also
Harry
stupid, though.
Porber.
Oh my god, I don't think I've laughed harder than when that came out.
Yeah.
Because I could, it was just funny. It was the perfect amount of punching in every single direction while having a like legitimate target at the time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was genius.
Yeah.
I really, really do appreciate Chuck Tingle.
Chuck Tingle is incredible.
So, like erotica, werewolves, vampires, all that nonsense. Some of the passages in those books, if you're going to hold them to the standard of freaking 2016, not even 2021, but 2016, you're going to come across some things that are like, what? Because it's really weird. It's about a certain type of fetishism where you can think yourself into the space where it's okay to find that hot is the entire point of the entire genre. And so it's like, from one point of view, it can be fucking horrifying, but at the same time, it's not like any of it is actually happening to people.
Yeah.
I don't know. And those are like novels that are designed for women. Like, and they're some of the most popular and best-selling ones is some of this stuff. And I read it and I go, what in the hell is that doing in there?
See, that's the thing, is like I've read like, I haven't read like all of that, like supernatural, erotica, whatever stuff. But I read like your average Thomas Pynchon novel, and you go read either Gravity's Rainbow or Against the Day, and he goes like very explicit.
Those also had far too many sex scenes for what I found to be comfortable. But
I
also
know.
those novels had a point.
Yeah,
they also had a point about something.
But he when he goes like about sex scenes, he's like, I'm gonna drive it in on levels of like those like monster. You're
gonna put it all the way in.
Yeah,
is that what you're saying? You're gonna put it all the way.
Exactly.
Are you gonna show it on camera?
Yeah. I'm just saying, it's like he goes like ways that like people that write your average like supernatural erotica for people are not
Good
going
save,
to go.
Raph. Good save.
I'm just gonna say, you read that weird stuff. You read like Against the Day, and you have that weird sex scene that ends up with a person being smothered in mayonnaise at some point. And
oh no, I blocked that out. I blocked a lot of Thomas Pynchon out. I'm being perfectly honest.
Understandable. I'm just saying, like,
I've blocked a lot of Stephen King out because he has some scenes that I just can't believe.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, like published. He has a beating up a literal baby scene in one of his books.
Yeah,
like someone literally beats up a 7-month-old.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't like Stephen King, but that's a different thing. But I like Thomas Pynchon in general.
Oh, so do I. But why don't you like Stephen King? This is a question I really want an answer to.
Because I'm not American. So I like. Here's the thing: I appreciate.
Oh my!
I appreciate.
Das ist gut.
Yeah. I appreciate the Dark Tower stuff that I've read so far, which is like the first 3 novels. They're cool.
Okay.
A lot of his other stuff is so much about like this like 1950s America, this harmonious 1950s America, and then horror creeps in, and like, that's so far away from my reality. It just doesn't touch me.
Right. No. I completely understand that.
So
this is one of the things where I think the time that it's written actually makes the novel make more sense.
Yeah.
So
also, I really hate the time travel one with John F. Kennedy. What's just like, they
what
something that date
11/22/63.
That one, yeah, I hate that one. It's so bad. It sucks. And it has it has a lot of terrible editing errors in there as well, and it just sucks. I'll die on that hill. It's like it only got published because Stephen King can do whatever the fuck he wants, and his editors will never lift a finger because he's Stephen King and they can't do a shit. And that's the point that made that novel published, and it sucks. Sorry. I know those are fighting words, but here I am.
No. I love it. I'm a Stephen King fan. Like, I love reading everything he writes,
Yeah.
because sometimes it's gonna have some horrific shit in it, and that's pretty good. But I don't know, just the unashamed way with which you go after the man it's accurate. That's the thing, is I can't even be angry, really. You're right. All of those things are here's one Stephen King trope that I've had enough with. Okay. This is
Yeah.
my least favorite Stephen King trope, is characters are talking to each other. One character says the N-word, that's the bad guy.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the book plays out from there. It's like, deep. Good job.
Yeah.
You have successfully pointed out a bad pattern.
Yeah.
You do not deserve an award for this. Why did I pay to read this? And then I read the whole fucking thing anyway. So, what can I say? I'm a constant reader. I'm a constant reader of Stephen King, which he constantly addresses in all of his prefaces and all that stuff. And I'm a ginormous fucking moron.
I think like Stephen King
Like-
is so in my mind, I always separate between like different authors. Like Stephen King is a great storyteller. He's not a good author. He's not good with language. He's amazing at telling stories, and I love the stories he tells.
He's good at getting you into a character's headspace.
Yeah.
But then the events with which he proposes to happen and the way he tries to describe them, they're always dependent on some sort of colloquialism.
Yeah.
Which bothers the fuck out of me. And look, again, I'm a moron. So take that with however many grains of salt that you need. But I don't know. I really appreciate the dude's work, because I don't know. The Dark Tower was the first epic like fantasy I ever read all the way through.
No, it's good. Dark Tower, like the first one, The Gunslinger, is an incredible novel.
No, it's right up there with the first book of the New Sun.
Yeah.
And as far as just how many concepts he was able to get across.
Yeah.
Now, John, have you read Stephen King? Like any of the Dark Tower, anything like that? Because I don't want to.
I haven't read The Dark Tower, but I've read some of the other ones.
I get it. I
Okay, so
understand it.
final thoughts.
Yeah.
Final thoughts on Dresden. Grave Peril, book 3 of 19.
I think like
19. Oh shit.
you
Go ahead, Raph.
You go ahead, John.
Okay. My final thoughts are it was a lot of fun. It was vastly improved from the second one. I really liked some of the characters that were introduced, like Michael and Dresden's fairy godmother, Leah. And yeah, I mean, it kind of ended on a weird downer. So that reminds me of like The Empire Strikes Back. So that's always a good thing, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, because
it was a lot
that's
of
the
fun.
best Star Wars movie ever made.
Exactly.
Okay, so before you go, Raph, I'm just going to let both of you know that right now, the first 3, you need to remember the pattern in which things occur.
Yeah.
And with that previous foreknowledge, you will be able to understand what is to come. Now, I know that sounds ridiculous, but everything that has happened so far has all of the consequences have gone back to these 3 books. So pay attention. Book 4 is possibly my favorite of the very beginning novels. It's really great. I even like in this book, some of the sexism stuff wasn't as bad. In this one, I think he directly makes fun of it consciously for the first time, which is progress. So I really do appreciate that novel.
Yeah.
But the sort of stakes and everything you're going to get introduced to, they're all great. And I really love novel 4. It's one of my favorites. So Raph,
Yeah.
what you've read the first 3 books twice now.
Yeah.
How do you think How are you feeling so far? Just based on the first 3 novels, would you actually want to pick up the 4th novel if we weren't making you do this
So, like-
through bi-weekly sessions?
So like the one thing is like, I don't actually know why I actually dropped it at the time. I guess I was busy because of, rock and roll and science fiction and stuff. And I had to read Ringworld at the time and other stuff. Anyway,
Yeah, I understand. Well, we're
Yeah.
not going until the 2nd week of July, so
yeah,
you've got time.
I get time. Point is,
John, I really want you to finish Dead House Gates because I want to talk to you about it.
Okay.
I don't know if we're gonna do a different sort of thing so that I can.
we should totally
I
do a
can
different
get
sort
that.
of thing. Yeah.
But you've got to give me your contact information because I need to be. Do you have Discord? Do you not have Discord?
No,
What are
man.
you using? Skype?
Yep.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay.
We gotta get you on Discord, and then we're gonna talk to you.
You need to
about-
use Discord. It's
We're
much
gonna-
easier.
We're gonna talk to you about our Lord and Savior Steven Erickson.
Well, no, that's how Raph and I met, is just really enthusiastic support for the Malazan Book of the Fallen. And so once you finish Dead House Gates, I want to actually, because I just want to stop. Just want to talk to you about Dead House Gates. I don't want to talk about anything else. I just want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah.
Because I want to see, in the same way I'm doing right now, where I'm like, where do you think things are going? How do you like X? How do you like Y? I would love to be able to talk to somebody who hasn't yet finished so I can see exactly sort of what they're thinking, like, what the promises they think are being set up and all that sort of stuff. Because it's one of my favorite things ever written. Dresden is my comfort food. When things are like terrible, like absolutely fucking terrible, I can always listen to 19 novels. And by the time I'm finished with those 19 novels, it's usually over with, whatever the terrible thing is.
I've gone back to my comfort food at this point, which is like the thing I fall asleep to is the audiobook read by the man himself, Douglas Adams, reading The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and it's incredible. It's also brutal.
He
at some point.
bloviated, much like people with lungs do not.
I'm just saying, it's like I'm a simple person. I go back, like, I can listen to that like every time.
Oh man, I found a bunch of the stuff I had written about 5 years ago ish, and I went back and was like, oh, I forgot about these. I should see what they're like. And I want to say 3 out of 5 were either a Douglas Adams or a Terry Pratchett ripoff of some sort or another, where I was just like, I want to write in that style. I want to do that sort of thing. I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
And then figuring out how difficult that actually is to do.
Yeah.
But I love Hitchhiker's Guide just for the economics of the language.
Yeah.
He's able to say exactly what it is he's talking about very, very quickly. And you actually get an image of what it is. It's really quite amazing. Because Stephen King needs a whole fucking paragraph to get you there.
Yeah. Anyway, let's kind of close that for tonight and talk about like I'm expecting
Final
the next
thoughts.
one to be all about war. I hope there's, I really hope that the war between the vampires and the White Court, the White Council, is not just going to drop below the carpet again, because I would hate that. So okay. So let me do this in the best possible German way I can do. It's like, I want war.
Ja,
Oh,
ja, das ist gut. Das ist gut.
That was brilliant.
All right, so there you have it. We hope the rest of the Dresden files aren't in German.
I hope that too.
So thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next time for Summer Nights.
Good to know.